Alright mates, how's it going? In today's video, Chapter 8 of Arthas, Rise of the Lich King. Arthas is about to ruin things for himself, in an effort to not ruin things for himself, because he's an idiot. So let's go! The kingdom of Lordaeron was now covered in tinsel and baubles and stuff, because it was Feast of Winter Veil time. Muradin, as an ambassador for dwarves, had brought the Christmassy tradition of his people to Lordaeron when he'd first arrived, and over the years, it had become quite popular, because everybody loves presents, and people were especially excited this year. In fact, they'd been excited for months, ever since Lady Jaina Proudmoore had ignited the Hallow's End Wicker Man in such a spectacular fashion. And she'd been invited to stay at Lordaeron through the winter, even though Dalaran really wasn't that far away, just a hop, skip and a teleport from Capital City. There was a feeling in the air that she was becoming something more than just the daughter of another alliance leader, more than just a friend to the kingdom. She was now being treated as if she was a member of the royal family herself, and Arthas had noticed it too. Mainly when his own mother invited Jaina to be fitted for a formal dress with her and Kalia for the Winter Veil Eve Ball. Leanne Menethil had never invited anyone outside the family to coordinate outfits for a formal event before, and Terenas was also making it weird and serious. The king was often requesting that Jaina join him and Arthas as they sat and listened to the people's petitions. She would be on the king's left, Arthas on his right, which meant she was in a position nearly equal to the king's own son. Arthas recalled his words to Kalia many years ago. "We each have our duties, I guess. You to marry whomever father wants, and me to marry well for the kingdom." Jaina would be good for the kingdom, and she'd be good for him too, so why the bloody hell did he feel so uneasy about it? 'Twas the night before Winter Veil, and Arthas stood looking out of a window at Lordamere Lake. The lake had frozen over, and snow had been falling since the morning. It was kinda eerie, but also kinda magical. Beautiful, isn't it? Plenty of ammunition. What? Ammunition? For snowball fights. Arthas then turned to see Jaina in the moonlight. Even after all these years, she was still absolutely stunning to him. In the book, he was blown away because she was wearing the white gown his mother had chosen for her to wear to the ball. But, well, Model Viewer isn't a dress-up simulator, so just use your imagination. Apparently, she looked very nice. You're like a white candle, all white and gold. Yes, the children will almost certainly be blonde. Arthas then froze. Jaina, are you preggers? No, not yet. But there's no reason to think we won't be able to have children. Children. There was that word again. For some reason, it still filled Arthas with a peculiar distress. His mind raced into the future. A future with Jaina as his wife, children running around the palace, himself on the throne, the weight of the crown on his head, and part of him desperately wanted that future. He loved having Jaina by his side, loved holding her in his arms, loved her laughter, he loved... But what if he ruined it? Suddenly, Arthas came to the realisation that he'd not been taking this relationship entirely seriously. Up until right now, it had kind of been child's play to him. Jaina was a companion, and they'd been playing games. Bedroom games. But now it was real. What if he really was in love with her, and she with him? What if he was a bad husband? A bad king? I'm not ready. Arthas' abrupt declaration took Jaina by surprise, but she squeezed his hand in a gesture of reassurance. Well, we don't have to have little ones right away. But Arthas dropped her hand and took a step back, so now Jaina just looked really bloody confused. What's wrong? We're too young. I'm too young. I'm not ready. You aren't... But you said... The guilt then flooded Arthas. She'd asked him this, the night they first had sexy business time. "I am if you are," he told her, and he thought he'd meant it. He reached out and grabbed her hands, and tried to be as articulate as possible. "I still have a lot to learn, so much training to complete, and father needs me. Jaina, we've always been friends. You've always understood me so well. Do you understand me now? Can't we still be friends?" After a pause that felt like an eternity, Jaina finally replied, in a very monotone voice. "Of course, we'll always be friends." Everything about her body language, the look on her face, the tone of her voice, suggested pain and shock. But Arthas chose instead to take her word for it, because he's a bloke and we're not mind readers. "I mean, this isn't forever, just for now. You've got studying and stuff to do. I'm sure I've just been a distraction. Antonidas probably hates me." Jaina said nothing, and Arthas continued, to dig a hole for himself. "This is for the best. Maybe one day it'll be different and we can try again, but for now, this is for the best." He then pulled her into his arms and gave her a hug. She was as stiff as stone at first, but eventually the tension subsided and she returned to the hug, and they hugged for ages. "It's alright, Arthas. I understand." "You do?" "Well, no, honestly, but it's alright. It will be alright eventually." Jaina then took a deep breath and steadied herself. "Come, Prince Arthas. You need to escort your friend to the ball." And that was that. Both Arthas and Jaina somehow made it through the evening, but it was difficult. At one point during the strained and unhappy night, Arthas glanced out the window and found himself wondering why the bloody hell bad things always happened in winter. Sometime later, Lieutenant General Aedalus Blackmore was currently standing in the Lordaeron throne room, looking like he wished he was anywhere else. Unfortunately, he was stone cold sober in this moment, so no drunk voice. King Terenas probably would have kicked him out if he'd shown up pissed. The reason the Lieutenant General was here today was because he'd messed up. Big time. Somehow, Thrall had escaped Durnholde Keep. What a surprise. But Blackmore had tried to keep that fact quiet, and failed at that too. Once word had gotten out, the rumours flew wildly. It was a rival lord. It was a jealous mistress. Orgrim Doomhammer himself had done it. Maybe dragons disguised as humans freed the orc. King Terenas decided he'd had enough of rumours, and it was time to find out what the bloody hell actually happened. It's bad enough that you thought it was a good idea to train an orc to fight, but to teach him military strategy, how to read and write. What in the light's name were you thinking? Blackmore remained silent and stared at the floor. You assured me that the funds and materials went directly into stepping up security, and yet somehow your pet orc is out there instead of safely inside Durnholde. Explain.
It's certainly unfortunate that Thrall escaped. I'm sure you understand. After all, Doomhammer escaped from your dungeons, did he not?
The king frowned, but chose to ignore that little bit of sass. The money is earned from the labour of the people, Lieutenant General. It goes towards keeping them safe. Do I need to send a representative to ensure the funds are properly distributed? No, that won't be necessary. I'll account for every penny. Yes, you will. Blackmore left shortly afterwards, bowing repeatedly like an idiot the entire way out. And once he was gone, Terenas turned to Arthas. You saw the beast in action. What are your thoughts on the situation? He wasn't at all like how I imagined orcs to be. I mean, yeah, he was huge and fought fiercely, but he was also intelligent and trained. There are packets of renegade orcs out there, some that might not be suffering the same lethargy as the ones we've imprisoned. If Thrall were to find them and teach them what he knows, it could be a very bad thing for us. Arthas sat up straighter. This was an opportunity. Ever since he'd inexplicably ended things with Jaina, he'd thrown himself into his training as a distraction. But no matter how much his body ached, no matter how physically exhausted he was, he still couldn't get over the girl that he himself had broken up with. I've been training hard with Uther. We could go looking for such orcs, find them before Thrall does. Uther has informed me of your dedication, and he's been impressed with your progress. Very well then. Go tell Uther and start preparing. It's time for your first taste of real battle. Arthas literally had to stop himself from whooping in excitement. Thank you, sir. I'll do you proud. That, my son, is the least of my worries. And we're leaving it there! In the next chapter, we're back with Jaina for a little bit. A mysterious hooded bloke visits Dalaran with a warning that no one takes seriously. An investigation into a mysterious plague gets started. And then there's a bit of a bittersweet ending that will make the rest of Arthas' story even more depressing. As usual, link in the description if you're interested in buying this book. Also, there's links to my Discord server and my Patreon page too. If you enjoyed this video, like, subscribe, all of that bollocks. And all that's left to say is, thanks for watching, and see ya!